Let me ask you a question. Have you ever really been hungry? Now, before you answer, understand that being hungry is a whole lot different than just wanting to eat, because we eat for a lot of reasons. Sometimes we eat because, well, we're worried about something or anxious about something. Sometimes we eat when we're depressed. A lot of times we eat because we're bored. But most often we eat because the clock up on the wall says it's time for us to eat. I was on a cruise one time a few years ago, and it was day 4 or 5, I can't remember. I heard a man tell his wife, "Honey, we have got to get something to eat. I am starving." Really? Starving on a cruise, hungry. He's been eating 6 or 7 times a day, and yet he said he was hungry. So let me ask you again. Have you ever really been hungry, consumed by hunger? In our country of plenty, most of us have never really experienced extreme hunger. You know, when you have to go for several days, maybe even a week without having anything substantial to eat. That's when the lack of nourishment to our body, it will sap our energy, cause weight loss, headaches, depression, anxiety, can even throw our bodies into insulin shock. That's when eating becomes an all-encompassing desire. It's the only thing we can think about. It's the only thing that's in our mind. Every action, every reaction revolves around our desire to have food. That's real hunger. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus lists the Beatitudes in the 5th chapter. And these are the things or qualities or characteristics of a true saint of God. And in verse 6, Jesus says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness." Now that word there that Jesus used for hunger doesn't mean just wanting to eat. It is that extreme desire to have food because you're on the very point of starvation, even to the point of death. That kind of hunger. And he says Christians are blessed with that type of hunger, an all-encompassing desire for the righteousness of God in their lives, to meet the standard of righteousness that God has established for his children. An overwhelming desire to do the will of the Father. It becomes the first and foremost thing in our thoughts and in our actions. It's as if our spiritual lives depend on it. And Jesus says that when a child of God has that kind of hunger for God's righteousness, he can absolutely count on the fact that he will be fed. Jesus goes on to say that those who have that hunger and thirst for righteousness will be satisfied. That means completely filled. Even more so than that feeling that we have when we finally push away from the table at Thanksgiving at Grandma's house. Yes, we will be filled and completely satisfied. God promises that he will satisfy any and every hunger when it comes to our relationship with him. So, are you blessed with a hunger for God and his righteousness? Do you have an extreme hunger for his word and his will? Well, the good news is, if you have that kind of hunger, God has already given us an all-you-can-eat buffet. Bon appetit.